An arm like Nolan Ryan's used to come along maybe once a generation. But these days, it feels more like once a game.
Now it's like ho-hum. Every night of the week, somebody's throwing 100.
Tom Verducci is the senior baseball writer for Sports Illustrated and an analyst for MLB Network.
Pitchers are definitely throwing harder, and more of them are throwing what I call elite velocity. I'm talking about 95 and above.
So what explains that revolution in pitching?
Well, a generation ago, if you threw the ball hard, people would say, oh, he's blessed with a strong arm. It was a God-given ability to throw the ball hard. We've since figured out, the baseball industry has figured out, that velocity is something you can actually teach.
And they're teaching it at gyms like this.
Bobby, how are you doing? Nice to meet you.
Bobby Stroop is the founder of APEC in Fort Worth, Texas.
This is our training floor. There's 10,000 square feet.
One of a growing number of facilities where pitchers who already throw hard learn to throw even harder. One APEC client, White Sox starter Michael Kopech, has been clocked at 105.
He improved 6 miles an hour in one off season.
So he was already throwing mid to upper 90s.
Yes, absolutely.
Works out here for an off season and is touching 105.
Right.
The Mets' Jacob deGrom is nearly unhittable this year after adding miles per hour to his fastball an unheard of 5 years in a row. So how exactly does this happen? To find out, I volunteered to sample the APEC program myself, working with pitching coordinator Ryan Sullins.
Palm away, so it's more here to there. There you go. You're going to press. We'll put them through a series of drills, a bunch of measurements like broad jump, just little things here and there, and we can put it into my system, and it'll print a 2-page report. And it will identify every muscular and neurological weak link on the body.
In the case of a 40-year-old morning show host, there was, of course, plenty of weakness to find.
The tingling is normal, right?
But listen to the potential results.
If we could fix everything on you today and get you solid and ready to go, your projected velocity today would be 90 miles an hour.
90 miles an hour, look at that.
From there, the APEC approach is basically a 2-step process, combining a custom strength and conditioning program focused on rotational power with throwing sessions that involve a lot more than just long tossing a baseball.
A lot of times when you build up the backside shoulder, almost always they throw the ball harder.
Yes, it can all be a little funny looking. I often felt more like the Karate Kid than Nolan Ryan. But programs like this are truly changing the game of baseball. The average Major League fastball has improved about 4 miles an hour in the past 20 years, and the number of pitches at or above 100 miles an hour has jumped from a couple hundred in a season to nearly a couple thousand. All of which means the pitcher has gained even more of an upper hand in baseball's most basic contest, and it may only get worse.
What is the limit? Do you have a sense of what the hardest a human body can throw?
I think that there's potential to throw 112, 113 if biomechanics were perfect and it's the perfect specimen and they leverage gravity off the mound.
So wait a minute. 112 maybe?
112, 113.
Wow.
A mere 100-mile-an-hour fastball takes just 400 milliseconds or so to reach the hitter. That is quite literally the blink of an eye.
You have a split second to pull the trigger.
Michael McCree is a former college baseball player and the author of Mind of a Superior Hitter, a book designed to give batters whatever advantage they can get.
If somebody's throwing 100 miles an hour, it's going to be hard to see, obviously. People ask all the time, when you see pitching that fast, do you guess? And yes, you have to guess.
When you say guess, you mean the hitter has to decide ahead of time, I'm looking for a fastball here. I'm gonna expect fastball.
You'll have to expect a certain pitch in a certain area.
McCree says hitters will eventually adjust to baseball's new arms. But Tom Verducci says the game itself may ultimately be forced to find a solution.
Is this a crisis for baseball?
Long term, it's a problem because now I think you're risking losing a generation of fans. Every fan, especially a younger fan, wants action. That's the way we're wired now. We want more action in a shorter period of time. Baseball is giving people the inverse of that, less action in a longer period of time. So that equation needs to change. That's why I say it's an existential crisis. If you do nothing, you're going to continue to alienate people with a lack of action.
Yeah, there's not enough peanuts and Cracker Jacks.
Keep you entertained? I'm still sore from my
Are
workout,
you?
by the way. Yeah.
So what's fascinating about your report is that, I always thought that, for example, Tiger Woods, there's only one Tiger Woods. The way he hits that ball cannot be replicated no matter how many times or hours you spend in the gym. Here, you could become a 100-mile-an-hour fastball thrower?
Well, you're 90.
Maybe 90. Well, although I sent that clip to a friend of mine who I played college baseball with, and he says, I will bet everything I own now and will ever earn that you could never throw 90.
Thanks for the faith,
friend.
David Cutler.
What a good friend.
But yeah, this is a revolution in human performance. It's a rotational athlete revolution, and it'll come to golf. It'll probably go to basketball. It's going to spread throughout sports, and it's going to change the way we watch and what we enjoy.
Well, I think what's interesting about it is that you think about hitting the gym and working those muscles, but according to the story, they also look at what's happening in your brain and the mental game part of it.
Yeah, totally.
Hit the ball even
How to deal with failure is a big part.
In Little League, I was terrible.